Today we're going to discuss what you can do around the house and kind of everyday living for your dog if they suffer from having hind end weakness or just hind end issues in general. So, this is probably going to be more geared towards larger dogs because with small dogs, obviously you can scoop them up and help them. However, with larger dogs, when they have hind end issues, it can be not only cumbersome for the dog, but also cumbersome for the owner to try to help them. And if you're finding it difficult, then clearly the dog's not going to be comfortable when you're helping them. So, why it's so important to help support the hind end when they have issues or weakness with it is because the hind end is really how they generate force to propel themselves and transfer power from the ground to move forward or up. So, going upstairs is where they have to use their hind end. Going up onto furniture or into the vehicle is another one as well. So those are typically the activities that you're gonna want to help your dog with through the day when they have these ongoing issues. Some of the reasons why your dog can get this in the first place are things like degenerative disc disease in the low back. They can have arthritis, just what's called facet arthritis, hip arthritis, dysplasia, knee issues. The list goes on in the back end, but oftentimes they present very similar. Things like tumors or growths that can occur on some of the nerves too can also cause this as your dog's aging. So this is something you want to look out for, and to make your dog's life easier, you want to help to alleviate the way they get around the house. And some other signs that you might notice is them picking up their hind end or skipping a little bit, or just standing at the bottom of the stairs looking at you to help them up, or whimpering or hesitating to go up in the first place. So those are typically the earlier signs that something is going on back there. Now, what do I suggest for owners that have larger dogs? Well, I suggest something like this, which is a sling or a lift. I always refer to it as a lift. Now, there's many different forms of this. It's simple. It literally looks like a sling. You scoop it under your dog's abdomen, and then you just help support them. So ideally, what you want to do is you don't want to lift their hind end right off the ground itself, but you just want to reduce some of the strain in there. So that's why, exercising in water is so good for humans or for dogs, because it's more buoyant, so it takes pressure off the hind end. This is the same thing we're trying to recreate with this sling or the lift, is we're just trying to lift their hind end and take some of the pressure off there to help them do those harder movements for them, whether it's going in and out of the vehicle or up the stairs. So when you're fitting the dog lift, what you want to do is you want to make sure that it sits behind their ribs. So both, you can stand up for me. So you want it to go behind their ribs, and there's a floating rib here, so you don't want it to overlap and put a lot of pressure into the ribs, and you want it to butt up right against the front of their thigh. And ideally what you're trying to do there is just cradle the abdomen. You don't want it to cradle the underside of the ribs too much, because that can displace some of the ribs in the back here and cause a lot of discomfort. But you also want there to be enough surface area. You don't want it to be too narrow, because that surface area helps to distribute some of the pressure in through their abdomen. So if it's really narrow, it's going to put, like if you use a belt, for example, it's going to put a lot of strain right into that one area. Now, one thing that you have to be aware of with male dogs is they do have a penis bone where there's an actual bone in there. So just make sure that you're not getting that caught on anything, because that could be very painful for the dog. And all you're going to do is just hold it up and help them up as they go up the stairs or onto the furniture. So it's very simple. And not only does it help the dog, but it also will save your back as the owner, because I see a lot of humans that have back issues as a result of lifting their dog that is having hind end issues. Now, the other thing you can do is if you're going in and out of the car often and you need to take them to multiple visits, say to your vet or to rehab, whatever it may be, so you don't have a choice to get them in and out of a vehicle. And if you have, say, an SUV or a crossover or minivan, sometimes those are a little higher than a regular car. So what you can also do in those situations, if you don't want to use a lift, you can actually get a ramp. And a ramp is a great way for them to walk up, and they can use their front end a lot more rather than doing a jump into the back of the van or the back of your SUV. So I'll link down below to a ramp or an example of a ramp that you could use for that, which would be very convenient if you're doing this often. But if you're only using it once in a while, or you just need something around the house, I highly recommend getting one of these slings. They're really cheap and affordable, and they will last forever. So I definitely recommend them. I'll link to that as well. So I hope that helps, guys. Help save your back while saving your dog's back in the process. Take care.